He's the head coach of America's team, Mike McCarthy, brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, even though, Chop, I don't even know if Coach needs coffee anymore with this later wake-up time, pushing the schedule back. Is this finally an admission that Shan and RJ have the tougher schedule than an NFL coach with our 4 a.m. wake-up?
I think it might be.
Since Mike has pushed this back.
We have a couch right here.
He's on the – good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. I didn't think we would start with a filibuster. My goodness. Our time clock hasn't changed, so just call any time if you still want to go earlier.
What do you mean your clock hasn't changed?
I still get up same time every day. I mean, it's coaches. This is actually just now that we've done it for the first week. It's great to have a extra 30, 45 minutes of productive time in the morning. So I've always liked getting up early and because I think you can obviously get some of your best work done in the early hours.
Have you ever been, obviously probably not while being a head coach, have you ever been a big nap guy, or you can just power through to the end of the night laying down for the overnight sleep?
No, yeah, I mean, no, vacation time, I'm right there with you. I'll take a nap with you, but I think
I told you he loved us.
Yeah, so it's I think the biggest thing about this job is, you run on adrenaline so much, and it's obviously not the healthiest thing for you, but it's something you get used to. And I think as long as you have that love and passion for what we do, actually the days really go fast, especially this time of year. Season tends to, fly by, and, here we are, just come out of the Thanksgiving break. And, I don't know how you guys felt. Don't you think the in season goes a lot quicker than the off season?
Oh my gosh, flies by.
I'm a depressed, what, after football ends, because it's separated itself so much more from the other sports. Like you ask RJ, when week 14, that's why I'm happy for the 17th game. But when week 14, 15 comes around, I don't even enjoy the end of the season. I'm just thinking about the end. It's misery for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So you can keep up the weekly segment in the off season with us to help with that.
Well, if that's good for your emotional therapy, I mean, I'm always here to help a friend.
All right, we got him signed up. Get it in the contract, Coach. I've heard you talk about November, December football, like how playoff football changes, the months, the weather. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Do you start kind of adjusting or altering the way your team plays, or you just stick with what's been good throughout the season?
Oh, I think it's more just the normal path and angulation of the curve, particularly that you're always looking at your team. I'm talking about their mental development, their emotional development, and the physical part. You break that down. I mean, the fundamentals and the techniques. I mean, you get to this point in the season, things should really be humming. Where your fundamental grades are at starting to peak. The technique is peaking because that's what every team is. The regulation of training has been in place since August. So, I think this is where you have to play your best football, and this is where the fundamentals really are heightened more than ever. So that's the normal path. So, but in the same breath, I mean, season's gone fast, but it's long, and it takes a lot out of these guys. And I think the thing is, a head coach, you got to find that sweet spot in your training regiment to make sure they're prepared, but you're not breaking them down, because there's nothing worse than seeing it. And I've been there, where you feel like your team's tired, and and it's, and you have to look at your week preparation leading into that. So that's a big part of this job.
In your experience, what's kind of, what's worse going to the postseason? Is it tired, or if you get that bye and you're rusty? Like what is almost worse? Yeah,
see, I don't buy the rusty thing, in the bye, because you have a chance to physically stay sharp. It's just that mental and emotional engagement, and competitive. It's getting back on that bike and going 100 mile an hour again. So I think I would definitely take the bye than not have the bye. Pretty much every year, because the health of your team is so important. In this thing, and I think it's even more prominent with 17 games. So, yeah, I'm for being the number one seed and getting the bye. I think that's a good place. That's a good spot to be in. So, but I think you can't overreact to the result of what happens after that. I think I think you clearly got to look at your preparation and your performance. Your preparation versus performance is separate entities, because sometimes as a young coach you think you give a great Saturday night speech and you had a phenomenal Thursday practice, and you go out and your team doesn't perform as well, and you're going, well, how the hell did that happen?
Right.
So those are the things you learn through the grind of this profession.
Mike McCarthy, Diamond Factory Hotline here on Shan and RJ, 105 through the fan. Dak told the media yesterday that you kind of had to give it to them a little bit after Wednesday's practice. What happened on Wednesday, Coach?
Well, what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room, I thought. But no, I'm just
go tell it to your quarterback, man. No, not us, Coach.
No, I'm with you. No, I just think I think it just shows to the accountability of our locker rooms, starting with Dak. So, it just wasn't what it needed to be. Energy was good, but we just didn't have a great practice. So,
would you consider yourself like that? We in the media like to separate coaches, right? It's like a player's coach. I was with Brian Billick in Baltimore with the old vets, and they're like, oh, it's camp country club around here, or it's, hard ass, put the pads on, week 13. Have you evolved? Have you changed? What do you think you are right now?
I think it goes back to what we just talked about. Your training regimen, you have to utilize the science and the tools that are present to you in today's game. There's been such an emphasis since 2011 in player safety. So there's a lot of good that has come out of that, but there's also a lot of overreaction too that I don't agree with. So I think you have to develop filters on what you can use and what you can't, because at the end of the day, our responsibility is to win, and then preparation to win is very important. So I use every padded practice I possibly can. I believe in pads. I think the padded work is critical to the development not only of your veterans to get ready to play the game, but I'm always trying to develop those guys all the way down to player number 69. I mean, we have 69 men in this building, and we got to continue to develop, because I know my history is those guys probably end up playing, and when they play, it's in November and December, so it's very important. So all those things are things you learn over time. So we still practice old school. We still practice the right way. This team practices very fast. It's up tempo, so they do a lot of the things that I would say were evident in the Marty Schottenheimer era. But I think the rest and recovery, the stay program, and there's a lot of things in there that are common sense, and I think we do a really good job in our training room and in our strength conditioning room of getting these guys, in that sweet spot physically.
Mike McCarthy joins us here, 105 through the fan. You guys play the Colts this weekend. Jeff Saturday, the interim coach. I know you kind of grinded, to get your, shot as a head coach with Green Bay. What was your take when Saturday was named the interim coach, basically just right out of the analyst booth?
I think like a lot of things, especially in this league or just really sports in general. I mean, even in the corporate world, I know you're in the business of expressing opinions. I think I've done this long enough that, unless you're in the meeting or in the room or, part of that process, you really don't know. So I don't know how that all went down. But, it's definitely, it's different. I mean, it's something we've never seen before. So, we'll see how it goes.
He was kind of killed this week for some clock management issues. Is that something you can ever truly master?
Well, I think the biggest thing with clock management, and because I look at clock management and game management as two separate deals, the way I've always treated it, as a head coach, you got an offensive playbook, a defensive playbook, and special teams playbook. But we also have a game management playbook and a clock management playbook. So I mean, you have to, those are things you have to practice all the time. And but I think clearly with statistics and analytics, there's some black and white opinions that I totally don't agree with, and that's just part of being in our business today. So I think there's some black and white thresholds that you have to really adhere to in clock management. But there's other variables that that you're going to have an opinion on based on the flow of the game and things like that, because you're coaching the game. So I mean, that's part of what the head coach has to do on the sidelines. So you may tilt one way or the other from the time thresholds that I think analytics and most head coaches are probably in close agreement on. So that's where I think you get difference of opinion. So in his specific situation, I don't know what was going on sidelines or how they felt about the drive. So I think there's other things that go on, but it's part of the competition of the game. That's the beauty of football.
Mike McCarthy here on 105.3 The Fan. We know that you've worked on it. We know that you stress it. We know that you're all over the penalties. Do you run out of tactics or approaches, Coach, after what happened against the Giants or what's happening again this season? Do you just say, I've run out of things to try here in terms of trying to get this corrected?
Yeah, no, I don't view it that way. I think, tactics are short-term answers. I think that the long game is always education, and I think when you have anything you're trying to be, you want to be better at, the emphasis, the education, how much time you put into it. I think that's all part of it, because, a big part of saying, hey, it's no different. You're in a room of coaches and you're evaluating things and something goes wrong. And he says, well, I've covered that with the player 10 times. Well, that's the wrong answer. I mean, the right answer is, what are we going to do to, get it right? And it's, so we obviously maybe need to cover it 21 times. So it's that kind of mindset, because that's how you improve as a football team. So, our education process and how we're being a little more creative, a little more video, so we just keep pushing those buttons of education and application to the practice environment. And I feel strongly that ultimately, it'll show up on Sundays. Because, the one thing that it takes a while, and it's really something you have to create every single year because it never carries over, is your play style. And I think, it's not an excuse, but you got to recognize this football team is a fast moving car. I mean, the play style of our football team I feel is our greatest strength. So, when you're going that fast, it takes more discipline to keep this thing between the white lines. And that's kind of where we are. So, there's a lot of positive that comes out of our play style, but we're always working to be better, at this particular play style, because this is how you're able to go into the playoffs, playing your best football. So that's the mindset.
Coach, Jerry confirmed with us on Tuesday that Odell is coming into town on Monday. Do you have to see him work out to know he's physically ready to go to help you this year? Do you expect to see Odell run or work out for you on Monday or when he comes?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and it's already started. So there's videos and things that our medical staff they have a process, and we'll go through the process, and just like anything, you got to get all the information, and hopefully an agreement can be worked out. But this is why you go through it all. So there's definitely a number of things we need to work on when he gets here and so forth. But I think it'll be great to get him in the building.
Coach, last one. The Jerry photo that's been discussed. Dak was asked about it yesterday. Have you had to talk about this within the confines of the locker room to the players, or how have you been able to deal with this?
No, I think I think one thing about today's world, especially even here in Dallas, everything's pretty at everybody's fingertips. I'm always a little surprised on how fast even when you do your radio show, and then you got quotes out there before I even get downstairs. So I mean, it's yeah. So I don't think it's anything out of the norm when you have things talked about, especially when it's about the Dallas Cowboys. That's a huge part of the brand. But really our focus is, especially this time of year with everything going on, we're trying to keep our focus tight and this and that. But I don't really, those type of articles, that's not something that I participate in.
Coach, we're glad that you're still with us. We were worried. We got the bosses saying, Mike McCarthy, we got the call from the office, but we knew you couldn't leave us because we can't be without you either, man. Good luck on Sunday night.
Thanks for making the new time. Is it working for you?
Well,
That's gonna be all right.
This is like 70% conversion rate so far. We'll aim for 80 next week. Get better.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys aren't the type to complain about anything, so
no, we don't. That's true.
I want to make sure you guys are okay.
Thank you, Coach. We really, really appreciate it. Have fun at your meeting.
All right. Have a great weekend.